Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Nufc 360 podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and with me this week is Stephen and Ryan. How are we, lads?
Very good, thanks.
Very good. Enjoying the British summertime as always, Mark.
Oh, but I had to swim with my dog this morning. It was me and him did not enjoy it. But this week, we are going through the squad, doing not the Snog, Marry, Avoid. It is the sell, keep, and loan list. This is going to be very interesting because I've got a few curveballs in there. So we'll see how we get on. We're going to get straight into it. First of all, we'll do keepers. We'll start with the easy one. Let's go with Nick Pope. What we're saying about Nick?
I mean, that's not. I think it's an easy one we keep, right?
Agreed. Right? I think, yeah. He's got to stay unless we're targeting a new number one. I think Pope's a good keeper. He's proven himself. He stays for me.
Yeah, I mean, we know we've got an abundance of keepers at the moment with two just joining, but yeah, keep. I mean, I don't rate him as highly as everyone else does. When people tell me he's a great sweeper keeper, that's the one thing I think he's bad at. But shot stopping, I think no one's better. I don't think anyone's better with shot stopping.
I mean, with his feet, he's not great, but sweeping, coming off the line to clean up and stuff, he's one of the best in the league statistically.
We lost the League Cup because of his excellent sweeping abilities.
He's not
perfect. People make mistakes.
Every time he runs off his line, I shit myself. I absolutely.
No, that's Dubravka. That's Dubravka.
No. Now move on to Martin then. So what we'll do is we'll vote. So obviously we keep him. It's 3-0, clean sweep. Everyone wants to keep Pope. He's fine. Martin Dubravka.
Sell.
You're both saying sell. You're blasphemous. Yeah. You're blasphemous.
He clearly wants to be a number one somewhere. He is a liability as a shot stopper now. He consistently concedes goals low to his right. He cannot sweep. Like we saw, our back line lost all confidence in playing high when he was in goal because he couldn't come off the line. He cannot play with his feet.
I will push back on that. He can play with his feet. He's way better. His distribution with his feet is significantly better than Nick Pope's.
Having your back line 6 feet in front of you to make your pass easier doesn't make him better as a passer. Both he and Pope are equally bad with their feet. It's right, but Pope is better on off his line and a much better shot stopper, and Pope is massively better in the air.
Yeah, I'll give that.
Yeah, I think I agree with Stephen. I think he's been probably one of the better signings we've made in the last 10 years in terms of what we got him for. He has had some very good seasons for us and some very good moments. But as Stephen was saying, towards the back end of last season, he did, cost us a few goals, especially like Stephen was mentioning, low down to the right. It seems to be a weakness of his. I would let him go. I think he deserves to play first team football, and I think he can still do a job for a fairly decent team. So yeah, I think given the goalkeepers we've got, I don't think we need Dubravka. So I think it's time for him to sadly leave.
I put keep, but that is only because I'll caveat this with obviously with the keepers we've brought in, I would sell him, and I agree. Giving him first team football is absolutely what he deserves. He is for a second goalkeeper. I think he's definitely up there with the best, being as a backup keeper in the league. But yeah, I mean, I was a huge fan of him. I'm a huge fan of him, but the last few games he played, the strengths I like him for, I still stand by. But yeah, you're absolutely right. When you shoot low against him, I'm looking at it going, would Nick get that? Would Nick have got that? And when I'm asking that question, it normally means yes, he would have. So, yeah, fair enough. So we're keeping Pope, we're losing Martin, which probably will happen, especially on Pope's side. Moving on to defenders then. Kieran Trippier, Ryan, do you want to start us with what you've said for Kieran?
Yeah, this is a controversial one, and I think this is probably going to split the fan base. I think if you asked me 6 months ago, I think what I would have said is keep, because I think... the form he showed in the first half, especially up until about November, December, until I don't know what happened, whether it was the stuff outside of football, the rumours messing with his head, or whether he simply just lost a bit of confidence. He seemed to, he has dipped in form, and you saw that in the second half of the season. I think obviously Eddie likes him in terms of his presence in the dressing room, in terms of his leadership. And let's not get it wrong, he's still got quality. He's still a very good footballer. You see that he's playing for England, so you don't get to play for England if you're a bad footballer. I know he's not perhaps... Yeah, I know, but all jokes aside, I mean, yeah. But I do think, in hindsight, maybe it was a mistake not to cash in on him. And I think if we can get his wages off the book, especially with the emergence of Tino, I think, Tino is the better player, I think, at this point. Maybe not all round. I think, Trippier, excellent technically still, but I think Tino is the man to take us forward, personally. So, yeah, I think I would sell Trippier.
Stephen?
Sell him, yeah. I mean, I agree with pretty much everything Ryan said. I think the one thing that is hard to replace would be his delivery from the right-hand side, but it's probably why we're looking at some of the right wingers we've been linked with would cover a lot of that. Tino's a different type of player. Like, he's not as much of a passer. Trippier, and we mentioned obviously his creativity at the start of the season. I mean, up until he went missing through injury and whatnot, he was leading the league in assists, and I think he finished tied on assists or one behind.
Yeah, he's still pretty high.
And despite missing a big chunk of the season and having a big dip in form, so he I can see a world in which we don't sell him and keep him as a sort of rotation option for games where we're going to have tons of the ball. But at his age, and considering we're not really close to competing for a title, I think we should be able to get rid of some of the expensive veterans, and I think we should sell Trippier.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think as good as he was when he first came, and I think he was part of the reason why we stayed up initially, I think as good as his assists and things are, I think what he brings most of all, which I see on the pitch, is his leadership, which we were lacking a lot of. He's a good character. He's intelligent as well, knowing when to protect players, like when he held the ball for the penalty, and the way that he keeps players away when there's typically when Joe Linton's going to nut someone, he's always in there telling him to go away. So I like that. It's a case of thank you, Kieran, but see you later. Now, I would have liked to have got rid of him if we could have gone to Bayern, was it that wanted him possibly in the January window?
We could have got our money back from Bayern.
That would have been great. That would have been like Chris Wood style of transfers. But never mind. But yeah, I would get rid. Moving on to his counterpart, Tino Livramento. Stephen, what's your thoughts on Tino? Nice and easy, I think.
I think he's in that category of obvious no-brainers. Like he's obviously a keep. He, assuming he continues to develop at the rate he has been over the past few seasons, both with us and with Southampton, I think he could easily be our right back for the next 10 years. I think he's a handful on it. Like I say, in a handful of players in our squad who are no-brainer keep, no-brainer just they should not be sold unless a gigantic fee comes in for them.
Yeah, you can't disagree with that. He's a definite keep. I think there was a bit of disappointment from some people around our summer business last year, but I think one of the things no one can deny is Livramento was a good piece of business. He's improved and he seems to just be getting better game on game. So yeah, like I say, I think he should be our starter for this season.
Yeah, I think what he brings, which Kieran Trippier doesn't, is that physicality. His ball carrying is so impressive, and that goal. There was the goal that he scored against Man United, where he ran through the whole team in the League Cup. He's just got that bit of pace. I really like him, and I think he can work on his crossing. I think he'll get better at that. But the overlapping runs, and he's versatile as well. Can play left back. I don't like to see him there, but it's always good to have that option.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep, and as you say, so I completely agree, Stephen. 10 years minimum. Kraft is next on my list. I'm gonna say my piece about Emil Kraft. I will happily keep him in the team. I'm quoted as saying he is the utility man at the back. He is our Swedish Aaron Hughes, for those that remember him.
He's almost our new Paul Dummett, isn't he? He's going to be the guy that slots in at right back, centre back.
Paul Dummett couldn't lace
Paul Dummett, I mean, that's a bit of an insult, yeah. But you know what I mean in terms of our utility man that can slot in across the back four and just be steady.
He'll never get more than a 7, but he'll never dip lower than a 6. I really like him. He puts a hell of a lot of effort in. He's actually not bad at getting forward-ish, but I think he's defensively very solid. He knows when he's beaten, so he does keep the attackers at bay while then backup comes and helps him. I like him. I really like him. I would keep him, not get rid of. You need these sort of players in the team. What you got? Your thoughts?
Agree, Mark. I think you nailed it. I think he's well thought of within the squad as well. I've seen some videos, for example, where some of them have named Kraft as being one of the hardest defenders to face one-on-one, for example. So I think he is actually a very good defender and, again, a good utility player. So that, yeah, keep.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I'd agree. I'd also go with keep. I don't think we need to say too much more about it. I think everyone knows what he is for the squad. I mean, like you say, he's a dependable 7 every game, and he's just a soldier. He'll do what Howe wants him to do, and he'll do it competently, and he won't give us unnecessary anxiety, which is the bare minimum, which is fine. And I'll happily keep him.
Yeah, he'll not reach the heights of what Trippier can do, but he also won't reach the lows of what Trippier was doing in the half. He'll just be right in that middle, Burn is next on the list. Who wants to take Burn?
I'll take him. I mean, I think we should keep Dan Burn. I think he sort of had a mini revival in the mindset of a lot of Newcastle fans last season. In that, so he was for a stretch of last season being scapegoated as the reason we were playing badly, unfairly, in my opinion. I think that's an entirely different topic, but he was being singled out a lot online at times, in the same way that the likes of Longstaff and Almiron have been singled out. And I think when it was necessitated that he go to centre back, I think he showed exactly where his real strength is, which is as a left-sided centre back. He's got the ability, passing with the ball at his feet, and passing wise, to be a real contributor to the team. He's obviously, I think everyone sort of understands the value of having a local lad in the side. The team love him. Like, he's a beloved figure around the club. He's a great character. He's tremendous in the air, which obviously is a great skill to have as a central defender. And being a central defender, his pace is not as much of a problem as it is when he's played left back. And I think I think he's all in all just a very solid left-sided centre back to have. You've now got Lloyd Kelly coming in, who we'll talk about, or we might not talk about because he's joined us, so we will probably keep him anyway.
Not on the list, yeah.
But yeah, Dan Burn and Lloyd Kelly, you've got your guy with pace, you've got your guy who can recycle the ball really well. Like, I would keep Dan Burn happily.
Agree. I think, especially given Botman's injury at the minute, we are obviously short on left-sided centre halves. And like Stephen said, I thought Dan Burn, after sliding in to centre half second half of the season, I thought he was excellent. In fact, he was our standout player for a lot of the games in the second half of the season. So I think it's a no-brainer. I think obviously it's tough enough being a fullback in the Premier League at any time against some of the wingers, but especially when you're not there naturally by trade, and when you're 6'7" and not the quickest in the world, it makes your job even harder. You would think with Lloyd Kelly coming in and Lewis Hall hopefully getting more game time, we should be able to see more of Burn in his preferred role at centre back. And for me, yeah, he's a keep. He's a definite keep.
Yeah, terrible left back, but it's not his position. So I put keep as well, but mainly because, similar to Kraft, he can play the left back if needed. He's a decent cover for Botman, and if Kelly plays there as well. But also the local lad thing, the passion he'll give, and you've got to have the roots in the team as well. So happily keep him.
Where's the controversy, Mark? We're all quite amicable so far, isn't it? I was expecting some big calls.
Oh no, we'll get to the controversy.
I'm surprised Mark even admitted to agreeing to selling Dubravka.
I know.
Well, I've put keep. Well, I said keep on my Dubravka, but I understand that we would sell him, and it was 2-1. So I'm going to lose that. Botman, is there going to be any argument? Is anyone going to say other than keep? Everyone happy to keep Sven?
Keep.
I mean, you wouldn't be able to sell him anyway right now with his ACL.
One leg. Yeah, everyone's happy with that. Jamal Lascelles. What are we saying about Big Jamal?
I think it's a similar sort of situation right now, in the sense that he's also got an ACL injury. You're not going to be able to sell him. He's only got 1 year left on his contract anyway, I believe. It should expire next year, if I'm right. So I think it's going to be hard to find someone to, take him off our hands, to be honest. So I think you might as well keep him around. He's a good presence. And he's not realistically going to play first team football anyway anytime this year. So we're not going to be able to sell him. So it's keep.
But that's not the game. It's not if we can sell him, it's if we would. And I would sell him to make glue. Yeah. I think he's done now.
I would. Yeah, you're right.
I like him a lot. He's a professional. He's been with us for a long time, and I do appreciate the service he's done for the club. But he's not the standard anymore. So I'd get rid. Are you on the same page, Stephen?
Yeah, assuming he was fit and we had the option,
and we could.
we're able to. Yeah, I'd sell him. I think within the absence of a contract exit category, I think he'll probably go next summer on a free, I'd imagine. Yeah, like you say, Mark, he doesn't have he's not quite at the level. He doesn't have the passing ability or the ability on the ball, like the composure on the ball that we want going forward. I mean,
has improved, but nowhere near the level.
Yeah, I'd happily, if I was a fan of a club in the Championship or a lower third Premier League team who sits deep and wants to just have a centre back who just defends in a compact zone, I think he's excellent. I think that's what he's really, really good at. He's also a very good character. He's always been part of in and around the leadership group in the squad, and like everyone loves him. Again, everyone in the squad loves him. He's a really, really strong character. So I think most clubs would actually be really happy to take him, even if just for his leadership qualities.
Send him to Norwich. I think he'd have a happy time at Norwich. It's exactly where he needs to go.
Back to Forest.
Back to Forest, yeah, you can slot in there. On the list is Alex Murphy. Anyone want to comment on Alex Murphy's 18 minutes of?
He's my first loan in the list.
Loan.
I think he needs a loan. It's obviously you can't put too much stock in preseason performances, but he came into the first team squad in the preseason last season without much of a hitch. He had a very brief cameo in the season in one game. Made a good tackle in the box that was wrongly called a penalty, and then it was correctly overturned. And he's thought of highly. He's only 20. Centre backs bloom late, or tend to bloom late, tend to develop late, like goalkeepers. Send him out on loan somewhere to a Championship side, get him loads of minutes. I think that's probably the best thing for him.
Nah, sell. Weren't impressed with his cameo. I'm just not. I just don't see it. When he came on, I just didn't see anything in his game that I liked, and it's incredibly harsh. And he might come good. A low move would be a sensible thing, but I'm not sensible, and
you're the world's grumpiest man. So yeah, that makes sense.
what you got the casting vote, Ryan?
It would be loan for me. I think it's very hard to judge someone off 18 minutes of first team football. So give him a loan. We could probably
the same as Stephen again. Ooh,
That's because 2/3 of this call of this episode are rational.
But yeah, so we'll first loan, and fair enough. He's young enough, isn't he? So we'll do that. Ryan, what are your thoughts on Matty Target? I think we're all going to be in agreement on this one.
Sell.
I forgot he was here.
Yeah. I mean, this is just rumors again, but reportedly on quite a chunky wage as well. Talking, excess 80 to 100 grand a week. Get that off the books. I think it's going to be very hard to find someone that'll actually take that wage on, which is a problem we've had with quite a few players. Your Hendricks, your Haydens, your Lewises, your Frasers, etc. But this was something that wasn't done in Ashley times, so we can't use that excuse. But yeah, he needs to go. He hardly got a kick last year at all, did he? So we've got Hall, we've got Kelly, we've got Byrne if needed. So get rid of Target.
Yeah, completely agree. I think it's a shame because when he came on loan, I thought he had a great loan with us, and then he's been crocked. And since he's come back from that injury, he's lost that yard of pace, and he was never really quick anyway. So yeah, I'd get rid just for the wages as well. I'm sure you're in agreement, Stephen.
Yeah, just sell him for whatever you can get.
80 pence and a curly whirly. Next two,
give me a can of Ironbrew. I'll drive him wherever you want to go. I don't even drive.
I'm going to pick two players and lump them together because I think we're all on the same page. Bruno and Joe Linton. Is anyone wanting to do anything other than keep him?
Yep, just keep him. Build the squad around them, around that midfield.
Yep.
Lovely. Sandro Tonali.
Keep. 100% keep. I think I would have lumped him in with Joe Linton and Bruno. Obviously, he had his ban, but I see no reason to sell him or to loan him out. Like we need to get our value out of him.
Yeah, 100%. I think maybe the reason he's probably not is that he's not established himself, I guess, on the level that Bruno and Joe Linton have for Newcastle yet. Not to say he hasn't in his career. Obviously, he's played for and captained one of the biggest clubs in the world. But it's a big year for him. He's got a lot to prove. And you would hope, a year of training, working with Hal and working with the system, learning English, we should get, the best out of Tonali next year. I thought, at times in his first 4 games, 5 games, hard to judge, but I thought he looked a little bit lost positionally, tactically. But that's expected. The guy's come in, doesn't speak English. It's a brand new system, brand new team.
It's also notable within how this system as well. We've seen pretty much everyone that's come in since we secured our survival in 21-22, that players take time to really bed in.
Yeah.
Yep, agreed. 100%. Gordon was one of those. I'd sell him. I'd sell him. If I could take our money back right now, I would do it right now. I want players without risk that next year something else might come out of the woodwork. I don't like what happened at all. Everyone seemed to be very forgiving with him. He knows what he's done. And all of a sudden, it was a bit of a coup to get him. No one else sniffing around him. The darling of Italian football out of nowhere comes to us. And then immediately after that comes out, almost immediately, he's banned. I'm like, have you just protected your boyhood club mate and come over to us and shafted us? Because that's what the optics are. And I'm not going down the road.
I don't think that. No,
he has to walk on water for me to get me back on side. That debut he had against Aston Villa didn't put a foot wrong. He has to play like that for like 5 games in a row for me to be like, are you worth it? Because I
think he will. I think he will. I mean, he was on the trajectory of being. He's the future captain of the Italian national team. He'd won a title at the heart of the AC Milan side that he was in. He was beloved among AC Milan fans. Like, there's no, I wouldn't sell him for anything at the moment unless you got more than your money back for him.
Yeah, money back. See you later. Elite mindset.
So I agree with Stephen. I think
shock.
There was a part of me that was thinking, would there actually be a sneaky little bid for Tonali, and would the club, consider like a 40-45 million pound bid for him, given everything that's happened? Sometimes players struggle to settle into the area, especially if you're not playing football. I think that probably makes it a lot harder, but there's undeniably quality there. There wouldn't have been the outrage from the Milan fans, the Milan side, if he wasn't the quality. He didn't have the talent that he did possess. So we need to see that, and I think we will start to see that this season.
Yep. Well, fine. I'm outvoted again. Sean Longstaff. What's everyone's thoughts on Sean?
No.
Ooh.
There's a caveat here.
Oh, okay.
If based on the squad we have right now, if we weren't to bring in another central midfielder this summer, I have him down as a keep, because we've already sold Elliot Anderson. However, if we bring in a central midfielder, this can flip to a sell. But as it stands right now, we have behind our starting midfield next season, we will have Miley, Willock, and Longstaff. So I think we should keep Longstaff, at least for the sake of depth.
I don't sound like a broken record, but agree again. I would keep Longstaff. He was down on my list as keep, Mark. Again, similar sort of reasons, really. I mean, Miley's out till October as well, by the looks of it. So we're actually, given that we've sold Anderson, you could argue maybe we're actually one light in midfield, which is not ideal. But I think given we'll be playing a lot less games this season, you would hope we'd be able to manage the injuries a little bit better. And I think Longstaff, I know he did struggle at points last season, but I do think he's a useful player to still have around the squad. Frustrating at times, don't get me wrong. And I think if we did have a little bit more quality in depth, then yeah, he would go. But for now, I think he has to stay.
Yeah. I looked at each player on, do I like them? Do I rate them? Not so much about the squad, because I agree with what you said about the squad is thin, especially now Elliot Anderson's gone, who I would have sold as well. For 35 million quid. Are you mad? But I put sell because he's limited. I appreciate his effort. Like, I like Miggy's effort, but effort's not enough anymore. And there's been too many times when a slightly better player would have put the ball in the back of the net or made a better pass or think quicker. I can see the cogs in his head turning when he's meant to ping a pass so much faster. He slows us down. He's below the level where we're striving to be. So I would have sold him. But I understand why it's not such a controversial one, because I do understand why you got for depth purposes. I probably would.
I think it's also hard to because obviously we know he had a broken bone in his foot for like 2/3 of the season.
You don't need bones in your feet for play football.
Sure, tell Harvey Barnes that. What else? It's also difficult because we have a number of youngsters in the academy who've joined. Look at Alfie Harrison, Trevon Sanusi, Travis Hearns, and whatnot, who've joined us with the promise of a faster pathway into the first team. And obviously, we don't know if they're any good, and we're not deciding on them. So it's hard to say whether or not any of them will be called up this season as well into the first team. So that could supplement the squad and facilitate Longstaff leaving. But
yeah,
I think given his utility and his energy, I think having him coming off the bench as like the 5th option midfielder, I think is pretty fine. I think that's agreeable for me.
I would sell him if he stays. I wouldn't be unhappy. Wouldn't be, irritated by that. Lewis Miley, what we saying about Ryan? What you saying about Lewis Miley?
So I'd put loan in January. So
when you can loan.
Well, I think obviously no one's going to take him on loan now, given he's also broke his foot, I believe, Mark. But who needs bones in their feet, right?
Exactly, they're soft.
But yeah, I think if you would ask me, if he hadn't broke his foot, I still potentially would have loaned him out. I think he needs first team football. I'd seen rumours of him potentially actually being linked to Celtic, which would probably be a nice move for him. It would, if he had the chance to play week in, week out there, at least feature more than what he probably would at Newcastle. I think it would be a good move. I think, there's no denying his talent. He's got massive potential, but there's still parts of his game he needs to work on, defensively. And he's only 17 or 18 now, just turned 18. He needs to bulk up physicality, to play in the Premier League. We saw that with Anderson, for example. But massive talent. We need to keep him long term. He's the type of player we should be, looking to bed in from the academy, but need some first team action.
Yeah.
Consistently.
And then to add to that, Stephen?
I had him down as a keep, not a loan. Partly because of the thinness of our midfield, partly because of his injury. Like, no one's going to really want to take him this summer. I think looking at the way that a lot of players often develop, I think until he sort of physically bulks up a bit, I don't think we should be loaning him out until he's effectively ready to start getting on a consistent basis a good 20 games worth of minutes a season. And I think he still needs to develop physically before we can really just send him off somewhere, because you can't expect another team to know him as well as our coaching staff will do and be able to sort of coddle him around, bed him into the squad as easily as we would be able to. When I'd keep him for this season, then look to loan him out probably next season to a team with an established track record of developing young players. Like if Southampton go back down to the Championship, or if they're still in the Premier League, they'd be a good place to send him, I think. Somewhere that can develop him, or somewhere that is in a league that physically is not too far off the Premier League, so the Championship would be fine, or even France.
Yeah. No, I agreed with Ryan. I would loan him, but I know you're saying I do agree with a lot of the points. I completely agree with what you said, Ryan. I'm not going to add too much to it. I think for me, the biggest hole, and it's a big one, and I hope he can change it, is just his physicality. Getting from if he could put Sean Longstaff's legs on him, I think he would be a brilliant operator. Bruno-esque. I think technically he's very intelligent, doesn't lose the ball, very intelligent young man, but he's a bit too slow at the moment, and that can change. He's got a big frame, so fingers crossed. Joe White, is he? I think he's on my list. I mean, I put Sell. He's played a few times, not impressed me. Not been harsh. I'm just being honest. I think he'll definitely be a professional footballer, but he's just nowhere near the level. He's had way more appearances than poor Alex Murphy, who I've condemned. But I would sell White as well. Steve, what would you do with White?
I mean, I think you're going to be on the right side of it for once, Mark. I'd agree. I'd also have sold Joe White. I think at 21, he's not shown enough promise on the pitch at 21 years old for me to be like, okay, at least maybe loan him out, see if regular minutes can actually develop him. If he's not with the weakness of our midfield, he's barely seen the pitch, and that's been in the height of an injury crisis at the end of games, barely. How will always say he likes all of his players, so we can't really trust anything that comes out from the coaching staff. But I just, like you say, I don't think he's shown the ability to play at the level we want to be at.
Agree. So Not much to add on that. I think you guys both covered that off.
I think it's when we've been down to bare bones, we play like 6 left backs against Man United. It's like that's your chance if Howe believes in you. And so far, I back Howe on team selection. So bye White, Joe Willock, I would keep. Really like him. Anyway, argue. Why are you guys going to sell him?
No, I wouldn't sell him. I'd keep him. I do think it's a massive year for him, though. I think he had but he would be disappointed with how last season went with his injuries. But I think he adds a dimension to our midfield when fit that we were struggling with last year in terms of pace,
100%.
because we're probably one of the slowest midfields I've ever watched in my life at times without Willock and Joe Linton in there. So Willock's good in the transition, good at carrying the ball, and he's also got that quality, but he needs to have a season where he can stay fit and establish himself.
Yep.
I think, that's important for him. So yeah, definitely keep.
Stephen?
I was very tempted just to be contrarian just for the sake of it and just say sell. But no, I'd keep him. We missed his off the ball running and his athleticism a lot last season, and we saw in the League Cup his ability to finish from the edge of the box and just outside the box as well. We need someone with that power through the midfield, and he's got a bit of cleverness about him when he's passing the ball as well, and we need a bit more of that from midfield as well.
Yeah, I think he's now the level we're at for midfielders. I think he's at the level where what Sean Longstaff should be, bit more athletic, a little bit more quality, and that I think you don't want to dip below Joe Willock. Miguel Miron, I will drive him anywhere he wants to go. I will bribe anyone that will take him. God love him, he tries, but when I sign a footballer, I don't want a headless chicken. I will have Mo Farah on the pitch just running laps. That's kind of what he does sometimes. He had that purple patch season and a half ago where he was banging his goals in for fun. I was laughing on the floor, crying about what these goals I was seeing coming from Miguel Miron. One from jumps to mind against Aston Villa, just pinged it from like 25 yards, just like Lionel Messi. I couldn't believe what I was watching. But he's not the standard, and I don't think he ever has been. He's just a likable character, but I'd rather have someone I don't like personally tearing it up for me. Is anyone going to say anything other than selling Miguel Miron?
I mean, I've told this story before, but I mean, I had there's a moment where people looked at me, and I had a couple comments, including from my father, when we were in the stadium, and I watched him miss a chance, and I've never cursed so loudly in my life. I sat down in a huff because of Miguel Miron. Like you say, I think you've covered pretty much everything, Mark. Like, you can't fault his work rate for where we were when Howe came in, and just before he was the kind of player we were able to get. And he clearly didn't translate from the MLS a bit amazingly in terms of goal scoring. But like you say, we're just at a level now where we just need better. And he is the player who will upgrading on him would improve us the most this summer.
Yep, agree. I think that right slot's the obvious weak link in the side. And yeah, you've pretty much covered it, really. I think I do have a bad feeling he might still be here come September.
He better not. If he turns down another Saudi move, I swear. Swear to God.
I think if we're going to bring in a right winger, we need to sell a right winger, and I'd rather keep Murphy over Almiron. I think Murphy actually has a little bit more quality. I think Almiron's his days are done. Yeah, again, thank you, but goodbye, I think.
I think there's 3 that I don't think we're going to have any arguments over in Isak, Gordon, and Barnes. Is anyone? Obviously, they are. Yeah, all 3 are the 3 of the best attackers we've had in literally decades. Gordon's been the best left winger I've seen. Isak, best striker since Shearer. Barnes a little bit more to give, but crocked on injuries, and I love him as an option on the left or right. So I think that gives.
You can also score from outside the box, which by God we needed last season.
Yeah,
that the brace against West Ham and the 4-3 win at home alone gives that's all the goodwill he needs for the next couple of seasons from me.
I think he was unlucky, and I think you've had a couple of people complaining saying he's a bad signing, but the fact of the matter is he played so little games and still produced more output than Alan St-Maximin did in the whole of the season before. So he, okay, maybe not the flashiest player in the world, but what Stephen says, he gets you output, and that's what you need. So keep Barnes for sure. I think he's going to have a good season.
Yeah, and I think 2 left that I think we may disagree on. Jacob Murphy. Stephen, you can go first with Jacob. What are your thoughts on Jacob Murphy?
Keep. I think he's obviously, again, he's a boyhood fan of the club. He works his arse off for us. He does whatever Howe wants him to. He'll play right wing back, right wide midfield, right winger. He'll play on the left hand side of a front line when he's told. He has moments of real quality on the ball. His decision making used to be his biggest failing, and that's improved a lot under Howe. He's got all the physical tools you need, and I think he's just a perfectly good backup at this point.
Yeah, I think he sometimes unfairly gets grouped in sort of that, that group of players that, we say if we want to kick on, he should be gone, in that sort of category of players. But I think he has actually improved a lot under Howe. As Stephen says, he'll do anything for the team. He can be frustrating at times, obviously, don't get me wrong, but he's pretty versatile and he does actually have a moment of quality in him when needed. I do think, though, between him and Almiron, he might actually be the most sellable asset the club have if they're actually, because there's probably teams in the bottom half of the Premier League looking at Murphy thinking, well, obviously he's a homegrown quota, for example, and for 10, 15 million or whatever we would get for him, he'd probably be a pretty good player for a bottom half Premier League team. But I'd like to see him stay anyway, so keep.
Yeah, he's the Emil Kraft of the forwards for me. Very versatile, gives his all. He's not going to have a 10 out of 10, but he's not going to have a 5 out of 10. Although, actually, no, I take that back. He can sometimes have a 5 out of 10, but he can play right back, can play right wing, left wing sometimes. He's got a cracking shot on him, and he's a hilarious shithouse when it comes to bantering people on the pitch, which I absolutely love. Let's go back to that little wave we were doing against Southampton. So love him, keep him, and
the tapping of the wrist against Man United.
Yeah, amazing. I saw the statues of him as well doing that. And last one, Wilson. Ryan, what are you going to do with Wilson?
This is a tough one. I like Callum Wilson. I like Callum Wilson a lot. I think I've put keep, and it's a keep because I don't think we will be able to replace him with the budget we have if we focus on buying a right-sided attacker. I don't think we can replace him with a player that's as good or adequate to for the money that we're going to get for Wilson. I think obviously he's got massive problems with injuries and he's very frustrating. I think we probably do need another striker, but I'd probably keep Wilson and look to sign a younger, third choice striker that can kind of learn from him and Isak. I do think he's good when he's got a point to prove. I don't know if he's been tried to force out the club. There's been some cryptic messages from him. He might come back with a point to prove, and quite often when he's got a point to prove is when you see the best of them. So yeah, I'll keep him. But I do see if you can get up to 15, 20 million for Callum Wilson, then yeah, I totally get why you would sell him.
Stephen?
Tell him, get rid of him. We had too many injuries last year to tolerate injury passengers this season coming. You're not going to get anywhere near as much money as you will right now for him from any other clubs in the coming windows. Just get rid of him, get his wages off the books. He's a well-paid player, great goal scorer for us. Yep, sure, but he's only on the pitch for a third of the season. Use them. I know we're not going to get someone as good, but then again, who's going to want to come in? Who's as good a goal scorer as him and be a backup to Alexander Isak? Get someone young who's versatile, can play across multiple positions. That'll do me fine.
Yeah, I'm in the camp of selling. I would sell him again. Great servant, kept us up. I think he's one of the best finishers we've had. And again, it's like Demba Ba days. He's a proper striker. Always gave his all, but unfortunately, he can't give his all when he's sat with broken legs and ripped off muscles and whatever else has had happened to him. It's not just the same injury as well. He is just a broken machine, bless him. So if we could get 20 million quid, I'd snap your hand off for him. And then, because we've got players now like Gordon and Barnes, if necessary, can play in the middle if we needed them to. So yeah, I'd get rid. And thusly, that is the end of the list, lads. I think if we go on my list, we'd have no one to play. We'd have nobody on the pitch. So it's good we have you two here to balance
You'd
out.
Sell everyone but Martin Dubravka. So
yeah, just Martin in net like this is all we need. But yeah, guys, if you're watching us on YouTube, hit a like, share, and subscribe. Really appreciate it. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram, and follow us on X. And if you see us in the street, just follow us. If you see Stephen walking around Newcastle, just follow him. He likes it.
Do not do that. Do not do that.
On that note, thank you both for joining me, and thank you very much for watching this far. Take care, guys. Goodbye. you.